There's a version of you that hasn't broken yet. Not the version that wakes up and checks the phone. Not the one that says tomorrow when today gets hard. Not the one that flinches when life gets loud and painful and ugly. There's a version of you beneath all of that. Something quieter, something patient, something that has been waiting. But here's the thing. That version doesn't emerge from positive thinking. It doesn't rise up when you read enough quotes or listen to enough morning affirmations. It doesn't come from comfort. It comes from something most people spend their entire lives running from. Bruce Wayne watched his parents die on a cold Gotham street when he was 8 years old. And what the world saw after that was a billionaire, a philanthropist, a man in a suit who smiled at galas and seemed perfectly fine. But beneath that, beneath all of it, Bruce Wayne was doing something that psychologists would now call one of the most disturbing and powerful mental practices a human being can perform. He was not healing. He was not moving on. He was not letting go. He was sitting inside the pain on purpose, every single day. And that habit, that dark, deliberate, deeply uncomfortable habit, is the reason Bruce Wayne became mentally unbreakable. Think about the people in your life who seem untouchable. The ones who take the hit and don't collapse. The ones who get knocked into the dirt and stand up like they expected it. You probably assumed they were born different, that they feel less, that their threshold for pain is somehow higher than yours. You assumed wrong. The most mentally resilient people on earth don't feel less. They feel everything. What separates them isn't their ability to avoid pain. It's their relationship with it. They've built something most people never build. An intimacy with their own darkness. A willingness to go inside the wound. And Bruce Wayne didn't become who he became despite his trauma. He became who he became because of what he chose to do with it. Now, here's where this gets uncomfortable. Because what he chose to do is the exact opposite of what every instinct in your body tells you to do. When something breaks you, a failure, a rejection, a loss, a humiliation, your nervous system sends one signal. Escape, distract, numb, move away from the feeling as fast as possible. And we are living in the most efficient era of escape in human history. You can disappear into a screen within 3 seconds of a painful thought. You can drown silence with noise before the silence ever teaches you anything. You can build an entire life around never having to sit still with yourself. Most people do exactly that. And then they wonder why they feel hollow, why the same patterns keep returning, why the fear never fully leaves, it just changes shape. Why they keep starting and stopping, why they feel strong in theory and fragile in practice. This is where Bruce Wayne's dark habit begins to matter. He did not allow himself to escape Gotham in his mind. He didn't reframe the trauma into something prettier. He didn't tell himself a more comfortable story. What his story reveals, psychologically, symbolically, is a man who returned to the source of his pain, not once, but repeatedly. Who trained in darkness, literally. Who chose to embody the thing that terrified him most. Who built his entire identity not around avoiding fear, but around entering it with discipline. That is not normal behavior. That is not what the world teaches you. And that is precisely why so few people reach the level of mental fortitude that feels almost fictional when you witness it. The habit is this: deliberate discomfort, chosen suffering, the practice of voluntarily entering the experiences, the emotions, the memories, and the physical sensations that you have been conditioned to avoid. Have you ever noticed how the things you refuse to look at tend to grow louder in the dark? The fear you didn't face becomes the ceiling you can't break through. The grief you didn't process becomes the weight you carry into every new beginning. The failure you buried becomes the invisible hand that pulls you back every time you try to move forward. Psychologists call this experiential avoidance. The research is clear, and it is devastating. The more aggressively you avoid a painful internal experience, the more power it accumulates over your behavior. You think you're protecting yourself. You're actually feeding the thing that controls you. Bruce Wayne understood this before the science had language for it. He sat with the image of his parents falling. He returned to Crime Alley in his mind. He built an entire cave beneath his grief and made it his headquarters. He didn't put the pain somewhere outside of himself. He put himself inside the pain, and he trained there until the darkness became familiar, until the fear became fuel, until the wound became the weapon. Now think about your life for a moment. Not abstractly, specifically. What is the thing you haven't faced yet? The conversation you keep postponing? The dream you've quietly stopped defending because the fear of failing at it became unbearable? The part of your past that you've explained to everyone except yourself. The version of you that got hurt and decided somewhere deep and wordless that it was safer not to try again. What are you protecting yourself from? Because here's the truth this video exists to tell you. You cannot build mental strength by avoiding the thing that weakens you. You build it by going back, by sitting in the discomfort long enough to discover that it doesn't kill you, by staying in the room with your own fear until your nervous system learns that fear is information, not a verdict. This is what modern psychology is finally catching up to. Exposure therapy, accepted in clinical science, works on exactly this principle. Cognitive diffusion in behavioral frameworks works on exactly this principle. The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, built entire philosophies on exactly this principle. The warrior traditions of nearly every culture on Earth built their mental conditioning on exactly this principle. Voluntary confrontation with what is difficult. But let's be specific about what this actually looks like in practice. Because it's easy to hear "face your fear," nod, and go back to the same comfortable patterns. The dark habit is not motivational, it is structural. Bruce Wayne didn't occasionally feel inspired to be brave. He trained the same drills in the same darkness until the response became automatic. He removed choice from the equation by making discipline the default. What does that look like for you? It looks like the journal you open when you don't want to, and writing the sentence you've been avoiding writing. It looks like sitting with the anxiety instead of immediately relieving it. It looks like finishing the hard conversation instead of giving yourself an out. It looks like naming the emotion you're carrying instead of rationalizing it into something smaller. It looks like returning to the discipline on the day when every feeling in your body is arguing against it. Because that day, the day it's hardest, that is the day the habit is actually being built. Anyone can train when they're motivated. Anyone can push when the stakes feel low and the momentum is already moving. But the people who become mentally unbreakable are the ones who show up specifically when showing up feels impossible. Who return to the practice not because they want to, but because they've decided that who they're becoming is more important than how they feel in this moment. That decision, that commitment, is not made once. It is made every day. Sometimes multiple times a day. Every time you choose to stay when you want to run. Every time you choose to feel when you want to numb. Every time you choose truth when comfort is right there, available, easy. Here is something almost no one talks about in the conversation around mental toughness. The people who have it are not indifferent to pain. They are not cold. They are not emotionally disconnected. They are, in many cases, more sensitive than average, more aware, more feeling, more attuned to the weight of things. What makes them different is that they have developed a tolerance for sitting inside that intensity, without collapsing, without escaping, without making the pain mean something catastrophic about their future. Bruce Wayne felt everything. He just refused to let the feeling make his decisions. That's the standard. Not the absence of emotion, the mastery of your response to it. And mastery is never an event. It is never a single moment of transformation. It is not the speech you give yourself in the mirror. It is not the playlist. It is not the weekend retreat. Mastery is what accumulates in the quiet, unsexy, invisible repetitions of doing the difficult thing when no one is watching and nothing external is pushing you. You build the mind the same way you build the body, through resistance, through recovery, through returning, through asking more of yourself than you asked yesterday. Not because it feels good, but because you have committed to the architecture of who you are becoming. Most people are waiting for a version of themselves to arrive, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the fear to lift, for the circumstances to improve, for the moment when the path forward becomes obvious and painless. They are waiting for the strength without the suffering, the symbol without the sacrifice, the transformation without the darkness that forged it. That version never comes. What comes instead is the person you build. One deliberate choice at a time, inside the exact life you have right now, with the exact pain you've been carrying. The cave was never the obstacle. The cave was always the origin. Bruce Wayne didn't escape his fear. He descended into it so completely that he became something the fear could no longer reach. And somewhere in that descent, in that radical, relentless willingness to sit inside the darkness, the boy who had lost everything became the man that Gotham could not break. You will not become Bruce Wayne, but you can become unbreakable in the ways that matter most to your own story. You can become the person who faces the thing, who stays in the room, who builds the habit when it costs something, who chooses again and again to go toward what is difficult rather than away from it. That is where mental strength lives, not in the victory, in the return. Before you close this video, I want you to do something. Not later, right now, in this moment. Think of the one thing you have been circling without entering. The wound still open. The fear still running the back of your decisions. The habit you know is building you, but you keep stepping away from when the day gets hard. Write it in the comments. Not for anyone else, for yourself. Because the moment you put it in words, it loses some of its grip. And when you scroll down and see what others have written, you will realize something important. The darkness you've been carrying alone is the same darkness that everyone around you is trying to outrun. You are not broken. You are unfinished. And the difference between those two things is the choice you make.